This is the Zunda channel, where we interview the top and successful players in various professions: cybersecurity, IT, business, farming, politics, religion, health, and any outstanding community achievement. Our guests give us a unique career life journey. This gives us an insider information which inspires and gives direction to the young people in choosing career path. Welcome to Zunda channel. My name is Jack Monga. Relax as we speak to our guest today. Right, okay, and thank you, Frank, for accepting to come and be part of Zunda channel. And my name is Jackson, and we are so lucky to have you today speak to us and join us in this program that we do for the children that we support. And Frank, first of all, before I can proceed, can you tell me more about your childhood?
Right. Thank you so much for having me on. It's a pleasure to be with you this early evening. Um, so for me, I was born in a town called Luansha in Zambia. So I lived in Zambia till I was 15 years old, and I moved to the UK in 2005. I moved to the UK.
Right.
So my first part of my life was in Zambia, and they say for me it's where everything started and the foundation. And I have to go back to the time I was growing up. I was always For me, fitting in as a youngster was always difficult. I always used to thought I was the odd one out, and it's something that I grew with. And I've got an eye condition called nystagmus, and it was wrongly diagnosed when I was growing up as being stupid. So I was always that kid that was picked on in school. So the
Right.
fact the early days of my life were quite difficult. They're quite difficult because you felt like you couldn't fit in anywhere. I never felt like I fit in anywhere. I never felt like I was as good as any other kid in school. So those were quite difficult. But at the same time as well, the early days of my life as well,
Mm.
I learned then to find what I love, even at that young age. So I, even though I struggled at school, I discovered I loved going to church. So I grew up in the New Apostolic Church, and
Right.
I loved going for Sunday school and doing the singing and everything else. So
Mm.
even at that early age, I wake up. If I'm struggling somewhere, where can I fit in, and what can I do really well?
Mm. Right, right. That's good. That's good. So I understand you did your bachelor's degree here in the UK. You know, when you came. So tell me about your secondary school before you get to your bachelor's degree. Where did you do your secondary school?
Right. So I started doing my secondary school started in 2004. That was at Mutanda High School, in a little outside Solwezi.
Mm.
So I did my year eight. Just going back, I did my year eight at Ron Antelope High School, Ras Power. That was in Lunsha. And in year nine, I moved to Mutanda High School
Mm.
on the outskirts of Solwezi, where my uncle was teaching.
Mm.
So I did my year nine and year 10 there. And then 2005, we moved to the UK. So that's where I finished high school. For me, that's an interesting journey on itself. Moving, moving from Zambia to the UK for me was the biggest transition of my life, and it was very, very difficult.
Mm.
So I struggled in school,
Right,
and in 2007, I failed my high school.
right.
I failed my high school. But what is amazing is the day that I failed my high school, I set to go to university. And I,
Mm.
I still remember the day after collecting the results. I leave the school premises and I saw two groups of people.
Mm.
One side where a group of people were happy with what they had. On
Mm.
my right side where people who were not happy with
Mm.
what they had, despondent.
Mm.
And at that point, it's something dawned on me. I've got a choice. I can be like those people on my left hand side. I could be like those people on my right hand side for the rest of my life.
Right.
So 5 minutes after finding out I'd failed my high school exams, I set a goal to go to university.
Mm.
And where this is what I base my book on, Arise and Shine on.
Right.
Um, so it is that moment when I go, right, I can change this. I
Mm.
can change the circumstances of my life. This is just a result. It doesn't have to define the rest of my life. What I
Exactly.
do from now on will define me. It's
Mm.
not what happens, it's how I respond to what happens.
Exactly.
From that point, I set that goal to go to university. I resat some exams.
Mm.
A year after that, I did my A levels.
Mm-hmm.
2 years after, 3 years after failing my, so 3 years after failing my high school exams, I went to university. And 6 years after failing my high school exams, I graduated from university with honors.
Right.
And
Very good.
yeah,
Very, very good. Well done, Frank. That's actually very much, you are really determined to create, your own destiny. That was really, really very good. So, what did you read at university then?
so university, I started business and human resources.
Okay.
So for
Okay.
me, and why I went that route was because I thought I like people. I discovered I know how to deal with people, even though I struggled to fit in with people growing up. At that
Mm.
point, I you know what? There's something that I have. There's something that I've learned in all my experience. There's something that is in me that will help me to deal with people more
Mm.
effectively,
Mm-hmm.
whether in whether in nice circumstances, whether in difficult circumstances. So
Mm.
my past experiences have been my difficult past experiences actually did not take away anything from me.
Right.
It gave me more than I realized I had because
Mm.
it's learning how do I have a difficult conversation? How do I communicate with people when I don't feel like I fit in? So
Right.
for me, when I look at my past experiences, I don't look at my past with so much regret. I look at it as training for what I was going to do, for what I was going to do in the future.
Right. Okay. So actually, from what I'm gathering from you, that led you to do your bachelor's degree, in business and human resource, was actually the fact that you wanted to associate yourself to the qualities that you thought you have, like wanting to be, to talk to people. So take me back now. How did you find your course when you are doing it, at the university?
It's there's something this for me is interesting, and I don't say this because I don't say it in an arrogant way or to brag about it. When I went to university, I found the course quite. I didn't find it difficult.
Mm.
I didn't find it difficult. I
Right.
think I think for me is one thing that I gathered was I have to go and put the hours in. As long as I put the time in, and
Mm.
that is one thing that I did. I was never one for putting in there doing an assignment a night before it's due in.
Mm.
I was always one. We got an assignment today. I'm starting today.
Mm.
I was always one. Right, we've done this topic. When the lecture said, "What you got to read on this chapter," I used to go, right. I'm gonna read this chapter today.
Mm. Mm.
For me, it's about doing everything instead of going, I'm gonna leave it for tomorrow.
Right.
Being able to do it, just do it then. Because one thing that I learned after after failing my high school
Mm-hmm.
was if I went and studied something,
Mm.
I was able to cram so much in a short period of time. And
Mm.
that's because I spent the time.
Mm.
So
Mm.
me turning my life around was not by accident. Me making that decision,
Mm.
life did not just become easier because I made that decision to say I want to go to university and everything became easy. It
Mm.
was about going and actually doing all the work that required.
Right.
So from that point, I learned that as long as I just do the work,
Mm.
as long as I'm doing the work, I'm on top of my work,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to struggle. So
Mm.
I found university as a place for me was I always say to people who go to university, as long as you do the work, there's nothing that's going to make you fail.
Mm. Exactly.
And you
Mm.
get, and what is important, you always get what you put in.
Exactly. Yes. Yes. Exactly. So now, Frank, moving on to your profession. When you moved in to start working for NHS, what responsibilities did you start with, and what are your current responsibilities in your role?
Right. So when I first joined the National Health Service, when I first graduated from university, I had a few job offers, but I wanted to go in the National Health Service, and I did not go straight into the HRO. So one thing that I did as a 23-year-old, when so many people were rushing into I want a better paid job,
Mm,
is I took the lowest admin job one can have in the National Health Service.
right.
So the first job I did, I was working as a receptionist at, at the cancer unit in Bristol.
Mm,
So why I did that is I wanted to understand the industry I was working in.
exactly.
For
Yeah.
me, I didn't want to go just go straight to the HR department and be locked away in the office and not understand what
Mm,
exactly what exactly the industry I was working in. So I
mm,
took a position as a receptionist, so I can understand everything, what we did, what entails, what it means working for the hospital. That
mm,
when I sat there in the HR office, what are
mm,
the people doing on the ward? What they're facing, what they're going through, so that I
exactly.
can give the right support, the right training
Mm,
when it's needed. So
right.
that was where I went. And a few years later, I took up, I after a few years, I thought, now I knew enough. So
Mm,
then I went to the HR department, and I've been a HR advisor since 2015.
right. Okay. So, what does your role entail, the current position? What exactly do you advise them to do? The HR staff.
So at the moment, it's all about the HR support we give to other departments. So if there is sickness and the
Mm,
manager doesn't know what to do, want to have a conversation, we're there to support them. If
mm,
there's disciplinary, we are there to support them. So our role is primarily to make sure that all the departments are following what the legislation says.
exactly.
So
Exactly.
the manager can say, the manager can't just say, I don't like that person, I'm going to fire them. I'm going to say, you can't do that.
Mm.
To give to being able to give that advice and that support and make sure that they're following the guidelines, they're following the legislation.
Mm,
So I'm the guy who has to read through the legislation when new laws come through. I'm the guy who sits there and reads all 20 pages and trying to make sure that it makes sense to everybody else.
right. Okay. Now, looking at HR is one of those departments that probably changes as well, looking at the times that we are in here. So what major changes have you seen so far from the time you landed your current position? What major changes have you seen so far, in your HR role?
I think one of the major changes I've seen, I think beforehand, the human resource used to do everything uh, from obviously and from payroll to recruitment, and you get the same people doing everything.
Mm,
And what I've seen now, there's been a division. So now you get a payroll department, which is not
oh,
even part of the HR department anymore.
mm,
So
mm,
that you can have specially trained people to do that role.
mm,
Other element is training. So something that I've seen a lot of companies, and not something that a National Health Service do, they've
mm,
got a separate training department as well.
right,
So
right.
now it's not part of the HR department. And so what you're left with at the moment is you get the operational side.
Hmm.
So that you get the operational side and you've got the recruitment side.
Yeah.
So at the moment, that's where the direction is. That the focus has gone to just those two,
Mm,
because other elements of it can be done by other departments,
mm,
which made things a lot easier, I think,
mm,
because you're not
mm.
having to focus on three 3 million other things apart from what you really need to focus on.
Yeah, okay, that's very good. Now, in terms of challenges, what challenges have you faced in your position?
I think it, being an HR advisor, everybody comes to you because most of the time, not because they want an answer, because they want you to tell them to give them an answer they want.
Mm, right.
So if somebody says, I don't get on with my boss, what they want you to say is, okay, we're going to move you. You can say, right, and then you say, you want to have this conversation.
Mm,
And, and probably the biggest challenge is so many people associate HR with with disciplinary.
mm,
So they don't get it as a support, as a department where they can get the right support and the right advice.
mm.
And for some people who probably need it most, they
Yeah,
don't ask for it.
right, right, right. Okay. So yeah, looking at the challenges you faced, what are the greatest success so far that you have done, you have achieved in your career at your current position?
I think for me, one of the most wonderful experiences that really stand out for me is I was invited to sit in a HR disciplinary, and this person was about to lose their job, essentially. And
Wow.
I was able to sit in, and I was able to review the evidence that was put in front of me, and I was able to question the evidence, and we were able to come to the right decision. So for me, it's not about it's for me it's about being working in HR. It's been about to review the evidence. Some people tell me you don't have to review the evidence like you're in court, but I'm always like, I want the facts. I want the facts. I want the situation. I want the behavior. I want the impact that had.
Mm,
So being able to sit in there and look at something that is put in front of me, and I'm able to say, this person I think has been treated unfairly in this occasion, for me, it's a big thing. Because not only are we're there to deal with disciplinary matters, but also we're there to look at something that when something is really unfair, we're there to look at that person has been treated really unfairly in that time. And why didn't that manager give them the right support? So
mm.
it's being able to question the evidence on both sides.
Mm, mm, mm. Right, right. So, Frank, what are you proudest of in your career?
I think one of the proudest thing that one thing that I've been proud of in my career is I'm the sort of person who always builds relationships, and I'm always able to create bridges where there needs to be a bridge. I'm always able to create that calmness when there needs to be calmness. So for me, one of the biggest achievements I would say is creating a relationship between our trust and agencies that we book our agency nurses from.
Mm,
So for me, that has been a big thing. So if we say we want to save money, it's easy to go, I want you to reduce your price. We want to save money.
mm,
But then it's being able to turn that around and say, right, how can we reduce the money? Let's have a conversation. So
mm,
instead of just going, I want you to reduce your price by £5,
mm,
I would say things like, if you reduce your price by £5, we
mm,
will make sure that you get first priority of all the shifts that we have. So you
mm.
build that relationship because not only are they reducing the price, but if they get all the shifts, they essentially make the same amount of money they're making anyway.
Mm, mm, mm,
Being able to, I think my biggest achievement is not being able to make the other person in front of me
mm.
see the benefit for something that's going to benefit me.
Right, right, right. Okay, now, Frank, looking at your life this far, who has been the biggest influence, on your life? And maybe what lesson have you learned from that person?
I think the first person I always think about my mother. I always say, for who I am and what I am, I will always thank my mother. it's it's making a decision. In 2004, my mother made a decision to leave Zambia and come to the UK.
Mm,
She left everything she had, everything she had, everything she had never known, to a country where she knew no one,
mm,
with only one mission in mind: to give a future for her children.
mm.
And
Right.
that's a big sacrifice. That's a big thing to do in your
Mm,
40s, just leave everything that you have.
indeed. Yeah.
And in everything that I do today, for me, it's always a reminder.
Mm,
Everything that I've done, everything that I've achieved, my
mm.
mother laid that foundation.
Right. Right.
For me, that has always been give, always give the best that you can, and give that opportunity, and always go after the things that you want.
Mm,
Sometimes it's going to be unknown, like going to a foreign country. That was unknown for her.
mm.
So that was a big inspiration.
Right. 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 Okay. That's good. That's good. So, have you had any mentor in your career?
I always I have always had mentors. I think one thing that I've had is mentors in everything that I do. I've got mentors for my speaking, mentors for my writing. I have got mentors for my speaking, because it's always important to have a mentor who will able to show you where you need to go, what needs to be done, where you need to improve,
Mm,
and and people who can give you constructive feedback in everything that you do.
mm, mm, mm. Okay. So now, we all have periods of life, can you tell me exactly, have you had anybody who has been so kind to you in a way that you really appreciate what that gesture could have been?
I think one of the moments that I something one of the moments that I remember the most, when I first started, I remember I was working and I was struggling, and I was
Mm,
speaking to this person, and I said, I can't do, I'm sorry, I keep getting this wrong.
mm,
And instead of this person saying, I'm very disappointed, you've got this wrong again, you should have done this last week, this person said, don't worry, we all can never do, you can only do something right once you know how to do it.
mm,
And it was a point where it was a big error. They
mm,
could have made a big complaint,
mm,
but they just went, I trust you, you're going to do it right when you get it right. I
mm.
think for me, that was a big thing in my young career, that somebody just said, you get it right when you get it right.
Right, right. Okay. Very good, very good. So, what are the most important lessons you have learned so far in your life?
One of the first one is it's always too soon to give up. It's always too soon to give up. Never ever look at your life and think, you know what, I've tried this and I've tried this and it's not working.
Mm,
Working on something new. There's always that bit. When you start something, there's always that excitement, things are happening very quickly.
mm.
Then all of a sudden you get to the middle. There's that middle ground where it just seems like nothing is happening.
Right,
Like,
yeah.
what is nothing is happening. And for some, for a lot of people, that is a point where they give up, because they just think nothing is happening. It's always too soon to give up.
Right.
And one of the second lesson is, you can have everything in life you want, if
Hmm.
only you can help enough other people get what they want.
Exactly. Yeah.
Because we always focus on what is in it, what's in it for me, what
Mm,
can I get. We never think of, can I help somebody along the
yes.
way,
Yeah.
can I support somebody.
Mm,
And once we create that element of people that we've supported, really we build on the things that we always build the things that what that we want that way. I
hmm.
think the point for me is the power of tomorrow.
Mm, mm.
The thing,
Yeah.
when I was struggling in school, one thing that I had was, tomorrow is going to be a better day.
Hmm. That's
That
true.
was right. So you wake up, you get to the end of the day and you feel, this is very difficult.
Mm, mm.
But then you think, tomorrow might be the day.
Right.
But as long as there's hope in the future, there's always going to be power in the present.
Mm, mm. Okay. So, in life, Frank, when have you most actually felt lonely?
it's quite interesting because I loneliness is a, is an loneliness is a very interesting, it's a very interesting phrase, because when we talk about lonely, you have to say most of the time we think of somebody alone, somebody locked away somewhere.
Mm,
But one thing that I had was I did feel quite lonely most of my most of my young life.
right.
And there was a point in my life I was surrounded by so many people,
Mm,
and I still felt quite lonely.
right.
I
Right.
think it's because I didn't know who I was. So I was operating in a space where I think I had to be like everyone else. I had to please everyone else. And in the process, I just did not know who I was.
Mm,
And
mm,
even the time I was at university, I had that shadow of loneliness over me,
right.
even though I had so many associates. But there
Mm,
was still that shadow of loneliness
right.
because it was it wasn't the fact that it wasn't the fact that I was not surrounded by people. It was
Mm-hmm.
the fact that loneliness for me was an inner thing.
Right. Right.
I didn't know who I was in this world, and it all just became so difficult.
Mm,
So for me, the years where I was trying to find my purpose, the
mm,
years I was trying to find who I was, were
mm,
probably the most lonely times because I really didn't know who I was.
mm, mm. Okay. So, do you like traveling?
The one thing that I don't do a lot is I don't do a lot of traveling
Right. Okay.
because of my eye condition.
Mm-hmm.
Where I go, if I go to a new place, I can't read the signs unless I'm so close.
Right. Right.
So
Right.
if I'm gonna do traveling, I'll do traveling with somebody else
Mm-hmm.
with me. So when I go to a place to get around, I have to know the place very, 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 very well. This is where the place, what that is, and what that is. So
Yeah.
traveling for me is not a thing that I've done, and where so many people love traveling, for me, traveling has never been a true passion of mine.
Right. Right. Mm. Okay. So now, Frank, if you had to hold on some memory in your life forever, what could that be?
I think one of the best moments is when I opened this parcel and the copy of my book Arise. I took the copy of my book Arise and Shine.
Mm,
One of the most special moments where you think, wow, this is incredible. And in everything that I've done, the second most brilliant memory. So
mm,
I used to be part of Toastmaster International.
right.
In 2017, I was I was doing a Toastmaster speech contest. So I
Right.
won the club. I won the club contest. So I
Okay.
went to an area contest, which was speaking and competing against other clubs.
Mm,
And I still remember this up to this moment.
mm,
Winner of the Area 10 2017 contest is Frank Saliki. And I still remember that moment because when I went to that contest,
yeah.
I looked at the people I was speaking against.
Mm,
These were experienced people. These were well-traveled people. They have
mm-hmm.
had so much experience. I was the youngest person there. And when I won, for me, that showed me it's not how old I am. It's
Mm,
not my past. I've got enough experience in my past to build something special.
mm-hmm.
And that becomes a very powerful memory for me because
Mm,
it's not about when we're waking on our dreams. So many times we're looking at what other people are doing.
mm,
It's about looking at developing yourself and developing your skills and asking yourself, what do I have?
mm,
What do I have that will take me to the next level? Because
mm,
so often we're thinking of what our neighbors and our friends next to us have that we
mm,
forget what we have. We bury our greatness in us.
mm,
So
mm.
in that moment, it changed. In
Right.
that moment, it changed the way I looked at work, the way I looked at life. It changed what jobs I applied for, what jobs I think I could get. It
Right.
changed everything. Most of the time, we shortchange our own dreams.
Okay. So, do you associate with any religious or spiritual, groupings or spiritual practices?
Right. So I am actually a priest in the New Apostolic Church.
All right. All right.
Yeah.
So,
So
right. Good. Very good. Very good.
yeah, so
Very
I was
good.
a deacon. Like I said earlier, church was a great part of my life growing up.
Mm,
And I was a deacon in our church quite early on. I was a deacon at 2009, just before I turned 19.
mm, mm,
Yeah,
mm,
so for me, it's always been part of my life, and my faith has always been on part of everything that I do.
Okay. So, in case you did, or just if you did not take up this, a career that you are in right now, how would you imagine your life would have been without what you're doing currently?
That's a very good question. Um, I think I think I would miss out on a lot of things because with the career I've taken on, with the other paths that I've taken on, I've got to meet some incredible people. I've got to chat with great people. I've got to chat with great minds. I've sat down like I'm sat down with you, and I've had a conversation with the great Les Brown, which was
Mm.
an incredible experience.
Oh yes, my wife is a fan of Les Brown.
Oh well, I know because it's seeing those people, it's being able to spend time with those people, and that's when you realize the nature and the wonderfulness of the human spirit,
Mm,
of what we can do when we don't give up, of
mm,
what other people go through. Taking on the path that I've taken in, I've been able to support not just not just people in the workplace. Being a
mm,
qualified life coach has enabled me to help other people discover what they can do with their lives. I've been able to share my story through writing. I've been able to share my lessons with so many people than I would have.
mm,
So I can't imagine doing. I can't imagine doing anything else.
mm. Right, right, right. Okay. So, Frank, how do you want to be remembered when the time for you comes to go, and people, will be gathering there? How do you want to be remembered?
I think the first thing is I always think, how would my family remember me? It's not I don't just want the world to say he was great. I read his book and that was amazing and I loved that. First thing is, how would they remember? Would they remember me as loving and caring and always there for them when they needed me the most? So
Mm,
for me,
mm,
that's a very important thing. And the second element is, how many people would I have truly changed? Because being able to do this, being able to write, being able to speak every single week. I do a Facebook live called Monday Night with Frank every Monday.
right,
So
right.
being able to do that every single week, it's not because I just want to show up and show people what I know. It's
Mm,
because I generally care for their wellness. Generally care for their well-being, and I
mm,
want them to turn their lives around. So
mm,
for me, it's about how many people have I really helped how many people have I really helped in my life? How
mm,
many people did not see hope in the future, but they came across my story, they came across my book, and their life completely changed for the better?
Okay. Any regrets in life?
I think if there is any regrets in life at the moment, yes, there are times that I wish probably in my 20s I could have enjoyed the process a little bit more. I
Mm,
think in everything that I've done I'm in my 30s and a little bit older. I can see things clearly. I can enjoy things a lot more. I can take time.
mm-hmm,
Like, I've got my second book, which is going to be published by the end of the year.
mm-hmm.
A few years ago, I would have rushed it because I would have said I just want it in print. I want everyone to see it in print.
Yeah.
And I think if there's one thing I could have just enjoyed the process just a bit more, enjoy the journey,
Mm.
and enjoy the moment, and understand that in that moment you're learning something, you're picking up something. It's like being at a party, but you're thinking about the party next month. So
Mm.
you don't enjoy that party, you don't enjoy the food because your focus is on something else that's going to come next month.
Yeah.
So I think that is my regret in my 20s was literally not living in the moment.
Right. 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 So now, if you are to give an inside information, particularly from the HR point of view, what would that advice be to a beginner who wants to get, a career in HR?
Well, the first thing is you've got to be a reader. You've got to be a reader, because when you are reading employment law, it's not something that is fun. It's not something that you're going to find fun. It's quite it's quite long. You always get a lot of information at the same time, and sometimes you have to go back and read. You read 20 pages and you don't understand it, and you have to go back and read it again. So it's being able to have the patience and understanding why you're doing it,
Mm, mm,
seeing the end product. What happens? You're going to be giving advice. So as long
mm,
as you understand what you're doing
mm,
and you understand what the law says, it makes it more effective. The
mm,
most effective HR advisors are those who understand the legislation inside out and those who can give the right advice, because it's easy to just know bits and bobs of it. I've
mm,
never bit, I've never read that bit, but being able to go and understand exactly what the law is saying, then
mhm.
you'll be able to give effective HR advice and you'll be successful in the HR field.
Okay, very good, very good. So, what's your passion, Frank, and how did you get started with it?
So my passion, my true passion
Mm,
is personal development. I've
mm,
got I've got a I just love seeing people changing lives. Um, and the way I came across, the way I entered personal development was almost by accident. So I've
mm,
mentioned Les Brown. So one time I picked up a book by Les Brown called "You Can Leave Your Dreams," and I
mm,
remember I read this book, and after I finished this book, and I thought, "That's me." And you got that feeling in your heart. It's
mm,
just something just speaks to you, and you
mhm,
go, "That is me."
mm,
And being able to do that, I almost instantly went, I want to start speaking. I want to start going to this field. And
mm,
instantly I started. And I started working on a passion. And probably before I even got better, I started asking for people to go, and I started inviting for organization to go and speak there.
mm,
And
mm.
my first experience of being invited to speak was not great,
Right.
because I stood up and my mind sat down, and it was a nightmare. So much so, the person who invited me said, "I never ever want to hear your name." But but that was my passion at the time, and even though I was so passionate about it. I understood that all I need to do is learn. All I need to do is find people who can help you along, to help me along, and that's when I joined Toastmasters.
Right.
So it was all about taking my passion, incorporating my passion with great public speaking skills. And I
Mm,
know putting those together, then I was able to go and practice something that I was really passionate about.
mm, mm. Okay. So, what has been your happiest moment in your adult life, Frank?
They, of the last few years, they've been quite a few. So
Mm,
in 2016, I married the love of my life.
mm-hmm.
Um, on another special moment last month, where are we? Yeah, last month on the 26th of July, my little boy Alexander was born. And I
Right.
have to say, there are moments in life in I can go back to so many. There were
Mm,
great moments where I graduated from university. That was a special moment. After turning it all around, that was a special moment. I still
mm,
remember winning the Toastmasters Speech contest. That was a special moment. I
mm,
still remember winning an award at work. It was a special moment. I still remember doing my first motivational speaking event. That was a special moment. But holding your son for the first time, that just bet everything that you go through. That was just a special moment. It just goes above all the special moments.
Right, that's good. That's good. So, Frank, on a scale of 0 to 10, how weird are you?
How weird am I?
Yeah.
I think I would be about 6.
6, eh? Right. So, what makes you think you are number 6 on the scale?
I think for me, because I spent so much of my life hiding who I was and trying to pretend and trying to pretend what I was. I've gotten to this point where I don't care. I just do. I live life the way I want to leave it. I make the jokes that I want to joke. I laugh at the things that I want to laugh. And those people who are going to be my friends just come with me on that journey. And it's about, sometimes people see me and they look at me and goes, "What a strange bloke, that kid." Then they hear me speak and they go, "What are you doing earlier? What are you doing now?" It doesn't seem to go. Because I've made a decision. I'm gonna live life on my terms. Like I don't want to be serious. If I am preaching on a Sunday morning, I'll be serious. It's a serious moment. If I'm sat in the back garden with my friends, I'm gonna be as weird as I want to be. If I'm having a conversation with somebody else that is difficult, I'm going to be serious. The thing is, when I'm a life coach and doing the things that I do, I'm having difficult conversations with so many people. I get a phone call when somebody says, "I want to take my own life."
Right.
I get a phone call to say, "My husband was beating me up. I want a place to go and hide my children because I'm scared of their safety." All times I'm dealing with very serious and sensitive issues.
Correct. Yeah.
So it's about how do I then ensure that I'm enjoying life. That when I have a difficult conversation the night before, that I can still enjoy life. I can still look at life and say, as life has been wonderful. I can still look at a world and say, our world is a wonderful place to live in. So for me, it's about I can separate myself from being that seriousness, and I can actually bring in some silliness in what I do.
Right. Okay. There you are. That's Frank Salik, who has been our guest today on Zunda channel. And Frank, thank you very much again for accepting to attend this interview here. It will go a long way to help, to inspire somebody out there who wants to do a career in HR. Thank you very much again, Frank. And let me just stop recording here.
Thank you. That was a pleasure. Thank you.
Right. Yeah. Thank you for watching. Remember to subscribe to this channel so that you can get notification when new videos are released. And if you are interested to take part in this program, contact us at recording@zundachannel.com.